Stacey Hughes, chosen ones, Virginia, stand up.
Welcome to the 2.0 Grandma Show. My name is Dr. Marsha McLean, and I have the pleasure of having a very special guest in the studio today. Yes, that's right, in the studio. Right? This is our first time in the studio. Oh my God, it's very exciting. You know, whenever I say that to my family, oh, I'm going to the studio, I feel like a rapper, sing a song, something. It just gives me a whole nother dimension, right? Yeah. So anyway, all right. So enough about me. So welcome, everyone. I have a very special guest today. His name is Mr. Marcus Rather. So one of my friends that introduced me to him, one of my very good friends, said, just think of Dan Rather, the news. I said, oh, okay. So that helped me. You know, we all need these little mnemonics or whatever to kind of help us remember stuff. And so Marcus is a financial planner. And today he's going to talk to us, grandmas, about financial planning. Yes, about how to get the best, I guess, from our money, how to make it reach a little further, how to leave a legacy for our grandchildren, if that's something we want to do, how to even take care of ourselves during retirement, if that's where we are in our life. And if we're not there, how to make the most of your money right now so it will stretch, longer so you can get more from it. So we're going to have a great conversation. As a matter of fact, we're going to do 2 episodes because I don't think that financial planning or financial literacy can be done in one episode. I'm sorry. So Marcus, first, I want us to talk a little bit about your background, how you got into this field. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the services and products. But before we get started, let me give my listeners a little background about Grandma's 2.0. So here's the thing. When I founded Grandma's 2.0, I thought about it from the perspective of what is it that is important to grandmas? And I found this theory called the 8 dimensions of wellness. And what I liked about it is it's just not looking at wellness from one aspect, like mental wellness or intellectual wellness or whatever, but it's also looking at it from other aspects as well. And one of those is financial wellness. And I thought, wow, because that is something that we really need to be thinking about. I mean, people in general, but it's definitely as a grandma, typically grandmas range in age from 38, this is AARP data, right? 38 up to 100 plus. And so it doesn't really matter where you are in your trajectory as far as a grandma, whether you're 38, 40, 50, whatever, doesn't matter. But what matters is, are you financially well? And so that's the question. And that's the reason why I was so excited when I heard about you and what you're doing, that I really wanted to have you come and talk to my listeners who are mainly grandmas. So give us your background. Tell us about your services that you provide. Well, first tell us about you, Marcus. Who is Marcus?
Okay. Yes. So Marcus Rather, first, thank you for having me today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for our special connection that introduced us to one another. So I definitely want to shout her out.
Yes.
I don't know if I should name drop or
you
not.
You can name drop.
Miss Rattler, thank you so much for making this introduction and allowing this to happen. So I'm Marcus Rather. I'm born and raised out of Hampton, Virginia. Product of a 2-parent household, and graduated from Phoebus High School, class of 2012. My story is to how I pursued the career. In my junior year of high school, I was afforded the opportunity to go to the American Legion Boys State. It was about a 1-week program during the summer where I got to just network with other children, not just from Hampton Roads, but different school systems throughout the week. And in that program, I connected with a counselor. My city, our group was called Cities. My city counselor, he was in school to be a financial planner. And naturally through, just, I guess, our demeanor, our personality, I just had a curious mind and just asking him what that meant and what that entailed. And he has shared with me what I now is a flexible career where I'm working with people, being able to connect on a daily basis, working with people and giving them advisement on how to best manage their money. Naturally, at that time, I thought it was more budgeting, saving, say foundation or fundamental of financial planning. So he didn't tell me a lot more about the investing and all the other areas. But just from that conversation alone, what I enjoyed from the definition of the career was the flexibility, not being stuck in an office, not being stuck in a cubicle, not being stuck behind a computer, meeting people where they are, days being different, just being out and being interpersonal. So when I went back to school, I focused on pursuing a career in finance. So after graduating from high school and pursued a degree at VCU, graduated from VCU in 2016 with my degree in finance with a concentration in risk management and insurance. And from there, started with a company called Foresters Financial in 2016. And 2019, the company had been acquired by Cetera, which is now the company that I work through, Cetera Investment Services. So I've been in the industry since 2016. May will make 7 years, and I'm just blessed to be able to do what I do. So.
Wow. And it sounds pretty exciting too. And I like the fact that you can kind of make your own schedule.
Yes.
That's intriguing to me.
Yes.
And today's society, people love that, you know, the 9 to 5 kind of thing. People are going kind of steering away from that now. I was talking to my son who works for the Department of Labor, and he was saying that is a huge workforce issue right now. Because, you know, you go into places, and we're not talking like the gig economy. We're not talking about restaurants and all those places, because, you know, it's hard to find people to even work in some of those places now. But we're talking even 9 to 5. It's getting challenging for that as well. Yeah. And people being in the building is another issue as well. Yeah. So that, you know, you've got almost like the best of both of those worlds. Yes. Yeah. 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 Pretty nice when you think about it.
Yeah, it's been a blessing. With every positive, you also have a challenge. I'll say self-discipline, self-management is typically the challenge that you have with such flexibility of creating your own schedule. You know, I don't have anyone over me that's making sure that I'm accountable for the work that I do. So there's a lot of self-motivation, self-discipline that comes with that responsibility as well. So
yeah, we call those, in my field, we call that self-regulation. You got to be able to manage yourself. Okay, you got to be. Yeah, because you definitely could not do a job like that. You're right. If you can't manage yourself. Yeah. Right. So now tell us about Cetera.
Cetera. So Cetera is a independent broker dealer. I say as a parent company, they don't make products, so we're not a proprietary company, and they allow me as a financial advisor to create or provide the best in-class experience through partnering with product companies like annuity companies, life insurance companies, investment companies who make their own products. And since becoming a part of Cetera in 2019, I'll say my business has been able to grow tremendously, truthfully, just from a lot of the opportunities that they provided me through their professional partnerships. So partnering with other companies, allowing me to create a business model that's flexible for me, but really meets the needs of the people that I want to work with. So they give me complete autonomy on how I'm able to create my practice, what I would like to focus on. And they provide tremendous support and making sure that I get to accomplish the goals that I set out for myself. So best thing to say about Cetera is if any other financial representative or financial professional out there is listening, if you want a company or a platform that gives you that flexibility and that support, Cetera is absolutely a place that you can look at and find that resource.
And that sounds really interesting. I had no idea it was like that. I was thinking it was more structured and you have to go with these products, or they had their own. That is interesting.
So Foresters was a captive company. Foresters as a nonprofit, they're still a life insurance company. So Foresters many people listening may be a Foresters member through life insurance products, and under Foresters, we were limited to those products for life insurance and annuities. Right. Within the investment space, there were a few investment companies that we could offer. But again, moving to Cetera, it just opened up a longer list of items that we could use. So I know one of the questions you may ask are what are the products and services?
Yeah, because I was just thinking,
if I were to name it's that many. So honestly, what I focus on more is the relationship that with the clients that I work with. I have a goals-oriented approach, meaning I want to understand what's most important to my clients. Because many of my clients they're in different phases of life, whether they're starting as young professionals or growing a family or transitioning into retirement or living comfortably in retirement. Different life phases have different circumstances, different goals. So I typically focus on the goal first, what's most important to the people that I'm working with, and then the solution comes after.
Okay. And that makes sense. That seems to be that needs to be, I think, the starting point, because you know, there's no cookie cutter approach to this, right?
Not at all.
Everything is customized and individualized for that particular person or family.
Right.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I like that. So now tell me, if I'm a grandma and I'm, let's just say, I'm going to give you a scenario here. Okay. So I'm a grandma, have 5 grandkids, and I want to be able to save something for my grandkids for their college expenses. And let's say my oldest grandchild right now is 2.
Mhm.
I have 2. I have one that's 2, one that's 1. So I have 2 right now. Let's just use that number. Should I start immediately, or should I wait until they're in high school? Should I wait to middle school? Should I start immediately trying to save something and set aside something? And then what kind of product would be the best?
That's a great question. Love that question. So, of course, the natural answer is the sooner the better, right? Because one of the greatest assets that you have in investing is time. And I believe most people do not understand the true value of that, of the time that they have to allow their money to grow, because that's really with investing, you know, you're going to win money, you're going to make money, you're going to lose money. And yes, some people see it as a gamble, but depending on your perspective and your time investment or your time horizon, your probability of success is higher if you have more time to allow that money to grow. And that's one thing that I heavily speak on or educate whenever I'm talking about investing, is the understanding that time, because again, your dollars will fluctuate, but you can always regain what was lost. What you can't regain is time. So to answer the question, when's the best time to start? The sooner the better, right? Immediately.
So when that baby is born,
right, or possibly before
that baby
right?
is born,
Possibly
right?
before.
Yes.
But in addition, you know, understand what your situation is. Right? There are a lot of things that are important. Make sure you understand what's the most important. Your priorities, rank them 1 to 3, 1 to 5, whatever the case may be. To the product solutions, again, there's so many options. I can't just specifically say. Naturally, when you're talking about education, a 529 college savings plan is generally the first thing that you can consider. There are certain tax benefits with a 529 plan that other investment options you do not have. But where you have pros, you also have cons. So many people are concerned with putting money into a 529. Generally, the first question is, well, what happens if they don't go to school?
Right.
What happens to
you get that money back because it's your money, right?
Old fashioned. No, I'm saying so previously there are so many different caveats to college savings that I want to be particular with what I say. Right. So in today's time, if you have a flexible college savings plan, yes, you are able to access that money. But under the circumstance, you may pay a tax or a penalty if the money's not used for education. But you can always change the beneficiary of a 529 plan. So for example, you have 5 grandchildren. If you started off with 1, and that oldest child did not go to school, you can now change the beneficiary to someone else, right? So the next grandchild, and really it can become a legacy play because now you can change it to that person, or if they decide not to go to school, they start a family, they have a child at that point, well, now you can change the beneficiary to their child down the line, right? So there eventually is a cutoff, but it's not that immediate. But with 529 plans, flexible savings 529 plans, yes. What we've experienced before, some people may have used what they call a prepaid college savings plan, where you basically pay for credits or you pay the tuition up front for in-state tuition. And some of the stories or experiences people have had are, again, if my child does not go to school but already paid for college, that money's lost, right? It's not an account that I have that has a dollar value. I paid for credits, I paid the tuition. It has to go to school. Or
now, are you paying this to a particular school?
It was generally through a state program, so it wasn't specific to a school, but it was through the state program. Which also created a possible issue if they went out of state to a school out of state. So that school out of state did not qualify for the state program. That money may have been lost as well. So again, in today's time, they don't offer much of the prepaid college savings plan. Most of them are what I would say is a flexible savings, meaning you determine what amount you're saving for college. And there's a lot of flexibility with how that money can be accessed.
Interesting.
But in addition to 529 plans, you have guardian accounts. So that's I'll say the benefit of the account is that the account is for the benefit of the child. But there's a custodian for the account. So whether it's the parent, grandparent, whomever, upon the age of majority, that child will receive the account. So in the state of Virginia, if it's 18, other states, there may be a different age. But that money doesn't have to be used for education. So this money can be used prior to them turning 18. It can be used for whatever needs benefits the child or the minor. But upon them turning 18 or whatever the age of majority is, they have to own that account. So again, you can see 529s have the good and bad. Guardian accounts have the good and bad.
So no matter what you choose, basically, like with anything, there's advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons.
Right.
So you just have to weigh that, plan it out, look at it, make sense of it, and then make a decision. That way you can make an intelligent decision. Okay, that makes sense. So now, what about So just how would you say, or what would you tell someone if they were just starting and, they're 40 years old, and they're a grandparent, and not just for their grandchild, but for themselves? How would they get started? Now, they've never saved any money, but now they're like, oh God, I'm getting old. I better start saving my money. So what would you say? What advice would you kind of give to them? I mean, the basic things that a person would need to know in order to get their financial house in order.
To get it in order?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a good answer, if there is ever such a thing, because my first answer is, seek professional guidance. So find that person that you know, like, and trust. That's really the more important detail there. So find a professional that you know, like, and trust. And start off with your goals. Again, I'm very goal oriented because of all the positive information out there. We live in an information world. You can really find information very easy, right? We know certain positives of investing. We know the positives of certain things, but if that's not what's important to you, and I come to the table throwing every bit of information out there to you, that doesn't lead you to make a decision. And if you are making that decision, I want to be sure that the decision you make is in alignment with what's most important. So in addition to finding the person that you can work with, make sure that you're understanding what's most important to you. What are the goals that are most important to you? And then from there, my process is, again, aligning your actions with your intentions. Once I understand what your goals are, then I can provide more of a recommendation of what makes sense. So for somebody that's not used to it, I would say those first two steps are the most critical. Find someone that you know, like, and trust, and start off with understanding what's most important, and naturally you can build from there.
Okay. So figure out your goals first. If I want to achieve this by this time, then I know I'm going to have to set aside this amount. And then what product should I align it with? Is that basically what you're saying? Okay. All right. Okay. And then, as a grandparent, we want to teach our grandchildren basics, of not necessarily budgeting, but, there's a saying, money is the root of all evil, right? And all those kind of things. And then some people I've heard, I think this is Dr. Lynn Richardson. She says, honey, I was living paycheck to Monday, not paycheck to paycheck, but paycheck to Monday. That's even worse, right? So that means by Friday you get your paycheck, or Monday, Thursday, and then Monday you don't have any money. And so, but for somebody like that, you want to teach your grandchildren better money management skills and things like that. So what kind of, are there products to get started with young children earlier or something, where they can save their own money, or, anything like that?
From a financial advisor standpoint, I can't name something specifically without considering, again, what you have access to at the bank. So if you have a guardian account where you as the parent, you are the guardian for the benefit of the child, you can establish an account for your child. Okay. That would be something good. Now, I don't have a specific product or bank to suggest by any means. Right. I would say naturally just start to look through the banking channel to see what they offer. Okay. As far as literacy, though, I think I'm trying to think of how to best articulate the answer, but it's just have the conversation. Depending on the community that we're speaking to or speaking in regards to, I did not learn a lot of money literacy from my grandparents, honestly. If anything, I heard most was, I don't have it, I'm broke, we're limited, so on and so forth. It wasn't any positive affirmation or anything like that behind money. So a lot of my knowledge from money came from my parents. So if you are a grandmother, specifically, I would say start to have the conversation. And be mindful of what it is that you're sharing and what you're looking to teach, right? Because there's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of emotion behind money that really shapes people's thoughts or perspectives behind it, but also their attitudes and their emotion as well. So just start off by having a conversation.
I think that's really good advice, because of the emotion behind money, and because of maybe what they see other people doing or not doing, or they see somebody struggling, see somebody homeless and all this thing. Yeah, and they're, kids think, I wonder what their problem is. They don't have anybody, do they not have any money? And then kids on the other hand will say, oh, I need money for this, I need money for that. Like my mother used to say, like it grows on trees in
Right.
the backyard. It does not. Okay. So again, I think you're right. I like that approach of talking to them about it and getting them to understand how money works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense because and because things are so expensive these days as well, that makes it hard. And children can't sometimes see that, wait a minute, my friend has, and it's not even about sneakers. Maybe in your area it was about sneakers,
sneakers
now it's about video games, right?
It was still about video
and
games
devices,
too, yeah.
and devices, all these different devices. Yeah. Exactly. So, but everything is so expensive. So yeah, and I think that's a great idea, is to sit and talk with them as grandparents about it. And sometimes in that situation, in your immediate family, maybe grandparents didn't talk to their children about it. And so then their children also might need that advice as well. So yeah, so when we come back, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk about that. So if I am a grandparent and I want to have the conversation with both my child and my grandchild.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about that. We'll take a little break right here.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Questions more than answering them.
Mm-hmm.
It is, man, big difference.
All right, so we're back. So Marcus, now let's see. First, tell us, we were talking about how as a grandma, I need to talk to my child and my grandchild about like I said, the emotions of money. What advice would you give me?
You ask that question a little bit differently, because I feel like I have an answer, but I just don't know what answer to give.
So, because we know that, we've heard all these things about money, and sometimes people try to make you feel bad if you have money, especially families. Families are notorious for that. Oh, well, you got money, do this,
right?
If you don't have money, oh, poor thing, she doesn't have any money. Let's see if we can help her, that sort of thing. And I don't want my grandchildren to be in that space where people in their family are going to use them because they might have a little extra money, because maybe their grandma was savvy enough to set some money aside for them and watch it grow. Yeah. Or I don't want them to be the ones where people are pitying them because they have nothing either. Right. So I'm saying, so how do we get as a grandma, how do I get my child and my grandchildren to better understand money? It could help both of them.
Again, I don't really know how to answer the question, because I think even that question just presents a different challenge that's more unique to that situation. It's not like a straightforward answer to that question. Mostly from what you're speaking on, I think it's just, again, demeanor. How do you change somebody's demeanor behind money? Honestly, I don't know. But I can say from my experience, conversations are not fluent around money. It's more of a, say, taboo, or it's a secret.
Right.
My aunt and uncle, I speak to them a lot about money. I don't know how often they talk to money with my dad and my mom, or how often they share that information with their brothers and sisters, or same up the line to my grandmother. But the conversations that we have with money between my brother and I, my parents and I, it's a lot more abundant. And thankfully, I think because of how often we have the conversations, what we talk about, so on and so forth, there isn't a lot of pocket watching. So the only thing I can say right now is just try to have more of an open mind and understanding, and make sure your goals are common as a family, right? You always want to see the other person succeed. You don't want to look down on them. So have an open mind and have an open conversation.
Yeah. So, as you were talking, I was thinking about, let me make sure I understood what you said. You said your family, your immediate family, your mom, dad, your brother, you guys talked about money a lot, or sometimes, or whatever.
It's grown. I'll say it's grown because I've gotten in the industry. So I remember I remember the most growing up. My mom always taught me about savings. Coming out of high school, the most that I knew was savings and CDs. Come to find out, that was probably more than most of the people that I went to high school with.
Right.
But
right.
walking into college classrooms where people were trading Tesla stock and owning stocks and things like that, and I had no idea what that was. I remember junior year, my dad had retired from Firestone, and they were talking about what a pension was, and I had no idea what a pension was, like not the slightest idea. So there's so much more that I learned naturally through those conversations, thankfully. But as I'm in the industry now and I manage my parents' finances, it's a lot more transparent in terms of conversations that we have, not just the money, but again, what's important to them, right? So they're sharing goals with me that I don't know if I ever truly would have known had I not been in the industry. Their aspirations for retirement, and I kind of challenge their goals by asking more questions not related to money, but about lifestyle. Because what I've seen in working with people, helping them plan for retirement, so often do we see it strictly as a financial thing, but we fail to realize that it's a big lifestyle adjustment. So some of the questions that I asked them about retirement is, okay, what is your average day really going to look like? Right? You're so accustomed to getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, going to bed at 10. What's that going to look like day one when you don't have to report to work? Or your first week where you're trying to reinvent yourself or find something new? What hobbies are you doing now? What interests do you have now that you can pursue when you have that time flexibility? I don't think we would have had those conversations had I not been in the industry. So it's been something that's grown. I'm thankful for the knowledge that my mom has taught me, but there's a lot more that's increased just because of, again, my experience into the industry.
Yeah, but you said something really profound. You said, and this is my takeaway from what you said, having conversations with my grandchildren and my children about money. Bottom line, having conversation, because money is something, like you said, that we don't always talk about. We may not have it, we may have it, but we still don't talk about it. So let's talk about it. And I love that question. What kind of lifestyle do you want to lead? So I can say this to my grandson, who is 20, and I can say to him, or will be 20 next week. I can say to him, so Cameron, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have?
Right.
Or the one that's about to finish high school next year. What is your lifestyle? What is it that you see your lifestyle in the future? And then that dictates what you need to do in order to make that happen.
Right.
Yes. Right. And to me, that is it. So that's a great answer, because it just says, don't necessarily start with the money, but ask the question. I mean, this is what I interpreted from what you said. Start with what you want your life to be like. What is your image of yourself in the future, in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, as a grandkid? And then that's where, you didn't say, oh, well, you need to do this, or I need to make sure I have this profession in order to get this, because this is the lifestyle I want.
So, the scary thing to me, though, because there are a lot of things that make me nervous, just as a financial professional, is the emotion behind money. Because part of my story that I was telling at career day last week or 2 weeks ago, I honestly was going to pursue a completely different career. My parents, I excelled in math in school. I like problem solving, I like mathematics. And my mom did everything that she possibly could to give me exposure into engineering. And honestly, she encouraged the same for my brother. So my brother actually stuck with engineering. But it's funny, one question I do ask people if money were not an object, what exactly would you do? What if money were no object, what would you do with your time? What would you do as a professional? What would you do with your career? And good so question. Often that I ask that question, most people are not doing what they want to do now,
right?
Because of money.
Yes.
And that scares me, because honestly, again, I'm fulfilled doing the job that I do, because again, I have interaction with people and all the other things that don't relate to money. This provides me value. But even when I asked my brother now, I was like, if money weren't an object, if you retired, whatever, what would you do? He would he can argue. So I still believe he should have went law or some type of law degree. But he loved a summer gig that he had counseling children, like summer camp counselor or program counselor, because again, he was able to give back, connect with youth, and he likes sports and playing basketball and all other stuff too. But it's unfortunate that our emotion behind money drives so much of our decisions.
Yes.
That oftentimes it can restrict us of joy of just living life and fulfilling the purpose. So I know talking about money is important, but if there's anything I can truly say is understand money is just paper. It's just currency. It's a means to an end. You know, I don't want people to shape their life around money. Please understand there's more to life than just a dollar or a value. So please don't let money run your life. I know there's a lot of emotion that we need it to live, but I personally do not want to live a life that's dedicated around money or a dollar.
Just what is that saying? There's a saying in one of the songs about money.
Some people got to have it, and
more money, more problems.
More money, more problems. Yeah, and it's
more
it's
money,
true.
more problems. Yeah. So yeah, but some of the problems come from other people wanting to get your money too. That, that's a part of it as well. But this has been a good conversation. I think it's a great start to the next level of this conversation, which we'll dig a little deeper into some more products and some of those philosophical things, because I like where that leads about that money is, don't focus your life and center your life around it. We know we need it for
a resource,
for things that we need to get, but it's not the end all be all.
Right.
And women, especially grandmas at this time, a lot of us are reinventing ourselves and doing the thing. I just spoke with the woman the other day who was, what did she say she was before? I can't remember, but now she went back to school and when she was 55 and now she's an interior designer. She is loving it. Loving it.
That is awesome.
Okay. So I have a friend who left her job. She used to work with me, as a matter of fact, left her job, went to Atlanta, and she wanted to be a film producer. Now she's starring in films and she's doing back. So yeah, people are doing that. So that's what I want us to talk about the next episode, right? To kind of really define what that could look like if you decide to reinvent yourself. What would you need to do to think about, this lifestyle change that you're about to do? So I just want let me ask you this question. I didn't ask this question. I want to make sure I get this in. How people can get in touch with you? Like your social media handles and things like that.
Oh man. I know a personal life is at Mac, M-A-C, last name Rather, R-A-T-H-E-R.
Okay.
But business-wise, Rather Financial Services for Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram is Rather Financial Services as well. Twitter, first name _ last name Marcus _ Rather. And I have a website, marcus.saterainvestors.com.
Okay.
Saying my name so often makes me feel a little conceited, so please excuse me. But if you
look up branding these days, right?
Still getting used to it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, marcus.saterainvestors.com is the website. All my information or social media handles are also through the website as well. So yes, I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube pending.
All right. So thank you, Marcus. First, I'd like to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For this episode. I think this is something that's very needed for grandmas, because number one, they need to think about not only about themselves, how they say on the plane, make sure you take care of yourself first,
right?
But then also thinking about their grandchildren as well.
You had to start that analogy on the next episode.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Let's start with that one.
But let's take care of yourself first, grandmas, making sure that you have what you need to live, as we say in grandma world, the best life. Okay, live your best life. Okay, so thank you so much, Marcus, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.